Chapter 30. Captain Jack folded his arms behind him. Have to say, they put up quite a show to get to you. Must be important. He swung his head to the time agent. Sorry for that, by the way, Saber. I understand. But know full well I do not appreciate being kept in the dark, she angrily replied. The architect said there would be incoming. I just didn't know it was going to be so damn fast. Captain Jack stared at Mr. Blue. The Time Lord in the cobalt suit nodded. I know, I look like a fool flapping my arms around and making an idiot out of myself. When I first arrived and Pedge, fell over. Yeah, what the hell was that all about? Captain Jack seemed to forget Twill completely. He was sending a distress call via psychic beacon. Black sighed. He just looks, acts, and talks like a complete moron. But he was getting the job done. Occasionally we do rather better for ourselves, I'd like to think. Professor Green interjected. And manage to fulfill our duties without making a spectacle. Mr. Blue faced deceit. The items we took from you on Rem, the tachyon filter, the quantum stabilizer, the magnetic de-interlacer. After we installed them, obviously we witnessed the results. You rigged them for detonation, a temporal cascade waveform to drain my time capsule. Nice booby trap too. But Purge was very, very angry. Very, 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 very angry. She scrubbed and poured over the port saber and I had liberated from you. In that oh-so-brief moment before collapse. And finally, Purge found a single speck of your DNA. In her last breath before the coma, Purge found exactly where and when you were. Overloaded by Saber's manipulator, sending out a pulse that recalled. Like sonar, or when you ping an IP address. Not only that, you were in a location where someone could not only help us recuperate, but also track you down. Captain Jack improvised in this situation best he could. Played along as Purge managed to land along with a mile on your location before collapsing. Was also dealing with the crazy kids on this planet. So, props to Jackie boy. The Wales Millennium Center, in Cardiff, right above Torchwood 3. Captain Jack was almost impressed. If you're standing around nearby and just watching during this crisis, I tell you what, for a time lady, you have some cojones on you. Twill, now revealed as deceit, noted that the man in red was not so subtly adjusting his temporal wrist device as he stared at her. She was backing up from the travelers.
You just think you're gonna teach me a lesson this time?
To be able to catch you, I felt it necessary to keep Saber in the dark. Mr. Blue ignored the interruption. Make it seem like I was investigating the death of some locals. Maybe in albino form. Perhaps the children of Earth catastrophe or whatever. Thought her, though. I tried to spell it out once in a while. Don't know how many times I told Saber. Shouted at her even. That this isn't what it's about. Or you don't really understand what's happening here. Or this has nothing to do with the children of Earth. And so on. Saber rolled her eyes and crossed her arms. Deceit managed to slowly wind her way around the endless door, back to Purge. Saber ran at superhuman speed. Before Deceit knew it, Saber's katana had formed and was aimed at her.
Get your ridiculous toy away from me,
Deceit snapped. I'm certain you'd like that.
Can you think of anyone in this situation who wouldn't?
Fair enough. I'm still not going to start trusting you now, Saber spat.
You're wrong. You don't know anything about the Time Lords. You pitiful, pathetic little time agent.
I know the Time Lords. Time ladies,
you're all so self-obsessed
that you can be impossible to reason with. Mr. Blue adjusted his tie. If that veiled insult is directed at me, I refuse to acknowledge it or remark upon it. The beautiful time agent cocked her head. Oh, I'm wrong. Sure. We have this, the man in red said. Saber shrugged and lowered her sword. Slightly. So the intruder message that Purge sent out, we received it. Professor Green addressed the wicked Time Lady. Did you believe that because it was slow, that Mr. Blue would not take notice? Really did not hear it?
I really don't take you seriously, Capaziolunek Orkvez Traveler. I never have.
Mr. Blue shook his head. I swear.
Swear what, Time Lord? Swear you'll break your hand, punching me in the face again?
Well, I swear I'll pretend like it hurts as much as you fall blindly into another one of my traps. Deceit made a strange expression, then smiled creepily and said,
Sorry to get a bit dramatic. It's just that I beat your ass.
Deceit threw out one hand and an AUM wrench appeared from nowhere. Every time. She threw out another hand, another scepter of crackling white electricity appearing. She ran. Saber appeared in front of her instantly and sliced downward, full strength. The renegade Time Lady crossed the EM wrenches in front of her, catching the sword. Deceit pushed the sword back, and she expelled a tremendous, thundering blast of white energy. Saber was sent flying through the doorway of the Endless, back into Purge's control room. Deceit ran, following the time agent out of the bar. She spun to fire everything she had at the Endless. The Time Lady hoped to collapse the unstable temporal structure on top of the travelers, bringing them down once and for all. The man in red caught her off guard. Deceit had not noticed his watch extend a 2-foot-long, glowing crimson laser sword. She was able to fire a single bolt before the man in red severed the ends of her EM wrenches, rendering them useless. The white shock sped toward black. He raised his time watch and formed a glowing, neon iris particle field in front of him. It dissipated the EM pulse, harmlessly. Saber was almost immediately behind the Time Lady, and she swiped her katana downward, slicing true. Deceit's cold, curdling screams pierced the air as her feet were dissected from her body in one stroke. The screams did not last long. Deceit composed herself, looking down. Bright orange blood gushed from her ankle stubs.
So then, what now?
The Time Lady growled. Mr. Blue walked around the control console of Purge quietly. The room was massive and empty, save for the faint background humming of the temporal bioship's engines. Gargantuan, intensely loud, and located somewhere hundreds of miles away. Sully walked in, breathing heat into his hands. What planet did you say this was again? Frem! The Time Lord in the cobalt suit pressed a button. Saber walked into Purge, wiping her hands. All of Deceit's corrupted components are gone. The man in red, Professor Green, and Black were able to grow Purge some alternates. We can make it to Logopolis Beta. The tired time agent collapsed into a chair. Captain Jack headed out. They've all gone back to their separate time streams, by the way, she finished. Left without saying goodbye? Sully was disappointed. I'm right here, the Time Lord said. I'm not following. Sully lit a cigarette. Fine and well, Mr. Blue grinned. Let's go somewhere else, shall we? And, Sully stammered with his thumb pointed behind him. Oh, Mr. Blue nodded. We're leaving her here. Sully lowered his head. From what I've seen, you Time Lord are a tough lot. Will that woman be okay? It took a moment for Mr. Blue to answer. Only if I am very unlucky. On the icy, inhospitable Arctic surface of Vrem, Deceit lay bleeding. The renegade Time Lady watched an antique teal grandfather clock disappear into the freezing wind.